Well, hello there. I'm Stephanie and I'm an alcoholic. Thanks for clicking. Today we're going to get into the big book study of Alcoholics Anonymous. This will be a long series, but someone has to start it somewhere. And all of the audio versions of the AA Big Book online are blah, 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 boring, okay? Let's add some pizzazz. Let's discuss this. Let's make fun of how badly written it is sometimes. And let's just do it with fun, candor, honesty, vulnerability. And let's share what it's like to try to tread through life with that desire to drink. Always there over your shoulder, because we live in a society that wants to suck us in, take all our money, our entire soul, everything good we have to offer, chew us up, spit us out into a shriveled little piece of excrement. So this is how we're going to get through that, because we're going to take what works, leave the rest behind. You don't have to like God to do this, okay? Let's get into it. The doctor's opinion. Yes. We of Alcoholics Anonymous believe that the reader will be interested in the medical estimate of the plan of recovery described in this book. Convincing testimony must surely come from medical men who have had experience with the sufferings of our members and have witnessed our return to health. A well-known doctor, chief physician at a nationally prominent hospital specializing in alcoholic and drug addiction, gave Alcoholics Anonymous this letter. To whom it may concern, I have specialized in the treatment of alcoholism for many years. In late 1934, I attended a patient who, though he had been a competent businessman of good earning capacity, was an alcoholic of a type I had come to regard as hopeless. In the course of his third treatment, he acquired certain ideas concerning a possible means of recovery. As part of his rehabilitation, he commenced to present his conceptions to other alcoholics, impressing upon them that they must do likewise with still others. This has become the basis of a rapidly growing fellowship of these men and their families. This man and over 100 others appeared to have recovered. I personally know scores of cases who were of the type with whom other methods had failed completely. These facts appear to be of extreme medical importance because of the extraordinary possibilities of a rapid growth inherent in this group. They mark a new epoch in the annals of alcoholism. These men may well have a remedy for thousands of such situations. You may rely absolutely on anything they say about themselves. Very truly yours, William D. Silkworth, MD. Yes, Bill, the Dr. Bill. Bill Silkworth. Is that the greatest name ever? Silkworth, MD. Let's talk about that for a moment. Yes, they're right. Without a medical perspective, condoning, co-signing, and agreeing with what Alcoholics Anonymous has to offer, AA as a program didn't really have much to stand on. Again, they're not trying to make money, they're trying to heal people. So they just needed testimony, and they needed somebody to witness it. And good old Bill Silkworth, MD, was just the doctor they needed, and he wrote a letter. And that was that. But as you hear, they will reference men. Sometimes when they reference women, it will be later, and in reference to men are women. But we're not going to get wrapped up in the old-fashioned gender, language, and linguistics and verbiage of the book. We can be angry all day about the Mad Men mentality, the sexism, and the oppression, but we're not going to do that. We're here to heal. And so we take what works, leave the rest behind. I could switch it to men and women and they and them every time, but that's so much mental gymnastics for me. We will just gloss over men as being they and them. You know what? I'll try to replace men with they and them so we can just cover all our bases and be respectful of all humans, okay? Moving on. The physician who, at our request, gave us this letter has been kind enough to enlarge upon his views in another statement which follows. In this statement, he confirms what we who have suffered alcoholic torture must believe, that the body of the alcoholic is quite as abnormal as his mind. It did not satisfy us to be told that we could not control our drinking just because we were maladjusted to life, that we were in full flight from reality or were outright mental defectives. These things were true to some extent, in fact, to a considerable extent with some of us, but we are sure that our bodies were sickened as well. If our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves, in our belief, any picture of the alcoholic which leaves out this physical factor is incomplete. Let's pause there. I disagree. I disagree on basically like page 3. I disagree, and that first idea was come up in the 1930s. Not a surprise that in 2025 I disagree with a medical belief from 100 years ago. But, you know, some people believe this, and some people do have alcohol allergies. And they will get into how they call it an allergy. But, you know, I struggle with calling alcoholism an allergy to alcohol. I guess if you mean the allergy looks like not an aversion, but an assimilation, an enjoyment. See, me as an alcoholic, I didn't get the same hangovers other people did. Now, later in my drinking, of course, I was sick because I was drinking all day, every day in lockdown, pandemic. But for 20 years or so, I didn't get the same hangovers. I didn't throw up the same way people did. I didn't, if my allergy looked like adapting well to the alcohol and being able to incorporate it in a manner that did not look like negativity, then yes. So they'll get into how they think that some people are predisposed to this allergy to alcohol, this allergy that forces you to have an attraction to it, yet the stupidity that goes along with overextending yourself and over drinking, over consumption. So, yeah, if you look at an allergy as something that doesn't necessarily have to look like an aversion, but attraction, my allergy to alcohol is an attraction, then yes, you could say we might have an allergy to alcohol. But to say that some people have more allergy than others in the sense that more people will become addicted to alcohol easily, I disagree. Physiologically, sure, we all have genetic differences. But what we understand about biology now is that if you expose any human being, no matter who they are, if just their body, if you just take their body and expose it to alcohol over time, scientifically speaking, their physiology will become dependent on it the same way as any other person. Even rats will become dependent on it, the physiology. And the withdrawal will look the same. Now, what that doesn't account for is the psychological dependence that a lot of us alcoholics have. So, what this book doesn't quite have the language for is what we're calling that genetic DNA component. Whereas not only do we get our genetics from our family, but our family then raises us in an environment that either supports or degrades certain behavior, has an aversion to this or an attraction to that. And some of us have these coping mechanisms in our family system. So not only is it genetically easy for all of us to become dependent on alcohol biologically, the emotional component is there. Meaning, if there's unresolved trauma and you have abuse in your home, then you will not have the emotional support to be able to protect yourself against some of the temptations of, say, alcohol dependence when you're a young person looking for solutions and relief in life. The family culture of belief in psychological care, psychiatry, prescription medicines for helping people with depression, all of those things are inherited, the family culture and the DNA. And so when they say there's an allergy and they say that some are more prone than others, I do believe that some of us emotionally and family culture are more prone to alcohol. But we do understand now that biologically you can create a physical dependence on any human being or any living mammal using alcohol in the same manner, no matter what their emotional state is. Does that make sense? Let me know if that makes sense at the 11-minute mark. um, all right, I will read a little bit more and then we'll go from there. What did I say? Where did it go? There it is. The doctor's theory that we have an allergy to alcohol interests us. As laymen, our opinion as to its soundness may, of course, mean little, but as ex problem drinkers, we can say that his explanation makes good sense. It explains many things for which we cannot otherwise account, though we work out our own solution on the spiritual as well as an altruistic plane. We favor hospitalization for the alcoholic who is very jittery or befogged. I'm going to pause right there. Jittery or befogged. Befogged is that almost wet brain, though I think we can't heal from wet brain. That brain fog, your brain is literally degrading. And if you drink alcohol long enough, look it up, wet brain. It seems horrible. And in past movies, TV shows, songs, people have used the term wet brained as a terminology to describe someone who's a total imbecile. And so I've had to look that up. And then I did really experience what felt like my brain kind of turning to mush. You can see MRI scans, I believe it's MRI, of brains that are considered wet brain. And it's something that happens to the brain over time with alcohol use disorder. There were times when I was arguing with myself in the mirror. In pandemic lockdown, after I was graped minus the G by my boss, I just went into the spiral of drinking when lockdown started. And I got to a point where I felt wet brained. I felt so befogged, as the book says, that I could not think clearly. I didn't really understand my reality. My friend Noelle knows this. There was one time years before it gotten too out of control. There were little blips where it had gotten out of control, the drinking. And then I'd be like, oh, wait, I said that crazy thing to my friend. I'm going to cut down. And then I'd be able to cut down for like 6 months or something, right? And then it would just get worse. So my friend Noelle will remember this. I'm sure I was on the phone with her. And my son had just left with his dad, and I had been drinking all day. And then I was on the phone with her, and she had known that the boy had just left. And I was like, wait, where was my son? And she's like, wait, are you okay? And then I came to, I think, in a second, but she understood the complete lapse in momentary reality. So I was in a bit of a psychosis for about 2 seconds, and she recognized that. And that is that befogged feeling, almost wet brained, the type of thing that was probably happening with Aunt Diane in that epic documentary that helped give me a wake up call. There's something wrong with Aunt Diane. If you guys haven't seen it, came out in 2011. It's a wake up call. You'll see a family in denial, and you'll see a woman who is suffering and a big tragedy. But watching that movie and them talking about being befogged, Yeah, I understand that completely. My brain doesn't feel like that anymore. I mean, yeah, if I take a bunch of cold medicine, which I don't do. Thankfully, I was never one of those alcohol abusers that just sought out physical relief through other drugs like cough medicine, this and that. I really just became okay once I started dealing with the inner pain, and then trying to feel different with a substance became less and less important. I still use my prescription medications and the things, my private things I use. This is about alcohol. Alcohol is evil. Alcohol is evil. There are lots of medicinals out there that people can use safely. Alcohol is evil. Alcohol is evil. Have I made it clear? Alcohol abstinence is the only way. Too many people that are functioning alcoholics, they get found out because of a tragedy. Let's not make a tragedy be what reveals someone's secretive drinking. We need to be on each other. We need to be watching each other. We need to be questioning each other. Where I come from is a drinking and driving culture. In Michigan, everyone drinks and drives. It's normal. I drank and drive for years. Years. I drank and drive for years and years and years. And then more years. I didn't get caught until my boss drugged me after 20 some years of drinking. I got away with it that long. How many times did I almost kill your family member? I've come to peace with a lot of that. I've forgiven myself for a lot. But this is why we're digging into this information. It begins a discussion, it begins a conversation, it dips our toe into healing. If you don't know what to do today, write a list of gratitude. All right, I'm grateful for these things. If you want to write a gripe list too, write a list of things you're griping about. If you want to write a resentment list, things you're mad at today. And if you want to write about the things you want to confess about, write those things too. And if you do all that, make a little list about any apologies you need to make or amends, which means change. And I guarantee you'll go to bed tonight feeling a little better about yourself. This is how we water our spiritual garden without the theology of the dogma of the Jesus and the Christos and the Muhammad and all that other stuff. We're here now. We're talking about real life things, and we're going to do real life things to get real life things to be different. I got coffee. There was a lot of violence today in America, and I'm not surprised. If you play with violence, you will get violence in return. Please be nice to each other. Please keep smiling and flossing your teeth. No drinking. Namaste.